All right, President Trump may be declaring victory after Robert Mueller's final report, but another underlying issue is still threatening our democracy: Russia's ongoing interference in U.S. elections. Attorney General William Barr's summary of the special counsel's investigation noted two main Russian efforts to influence the 2016 election, stating, quote, "The first involved attempts by a Russian organization, the Internet Research Agency, IRA, to conduct disinformation and social media operations in the United States designed to sow social discord, eventually with the aim of interfering with the election." It goes on to say the second element involved the Russian government's effort to conduct computer hacking operations designed to gather and disseminate information to influence the election. The special counsel found that Russian government actors successfully hacked into computers and obtained emails from persons affiliated with the Clinton campaign and Democratic Party organizations, and publicly disseminated those materials through various intermediaries, including WikiLeaks. And the threat is ongoing. With less than 600 days to the 2020 election, in July of 2018, Mueller charged 12 Russian intelligence officers with hacking the computer networks of members of Hillary Clinton's campaign and the Democratic National Committee. The officers allegedly coordinated to release damaging effort in an attempt to sway voter opinion. On July 13, 2018, Director of National Intelligence, this guy here, Dan Coats, said, quote, "The digital infrastructure that serves this country is literally under attack." On November 5th, 2018, the Boston Globe reported the federal government logged more than 160 instances of suspected interference since August 1st. And that same day, Coats and other U.S. officials, intelligence officials, declared they found no evidence that the 2018 midterm elections has been hacked, but they found that Russia still tried to influence it. Fast forward to January 29th of this year. Dan Coats, Director of National Intelligence, told the Senate Intelligence Committee Russia would attempt to do it again in 2020, saying, we, quote, "expect them to refine their capabilities and add new tactics as they learn from each other's experiences and efforts." Joining me now, Robert Johnston, a security expert who investigated the 2016 DNC breach. Robert, there are a lot of people who are dissatisfied with what they've heard about the Mueller report and what the Attorney General has said about it as it relates to Donald Trump. But there's a whole nother piece of this. Are we any closer to dealing with this type of interference that the Mueller report made plain existed in 2016 and 2018, and that DNI Coats says is ongoing?
Thanks for having me on the show. So the one thing that we did get from the Mueller report that we haven't seen from previous reports, like what was produced in the intelligence community, is we finally got a definitive conclusion. You know, the American public typically doesn't respond very well to intelligence community confidence levels, where they say I have a high confidence of that. That always leaves just a little room for doubt, and something they've definitely become used to. In the Mueller report, we definitely had a definitive conclusion, and that's mainly because of the indictments that were levied against the Russian Federation for their activities. Now, on the other question of what are we doing today, I think, you know, America's in a very tough spot. We've tried everything. We've tried our own offensive cyber operations against Russia. We've tried our own psychological operations against Russia. We've tried indictments, sanctions, public attribution. I think at the end of the day, you're looking at what will be the new normal, a consistent and persistent attack against U.S. democracy, because it is directly at odds with the Russian Federation's influences in Europe and against NATO. This is the new normal. Every election will be like this moving forward and into the future.
I mean, this is, you make me want to, like, go onto the desk here and cry. You've written, we've about exhausted our ability to achieve some kind of deterrent model that works. I mean, really? 2019, we've exhausted our ability to figure out a deterrent model to somehow indicate to Russia and North Korea and China and anyone else who and the 400-pound guy who Donald Trump says it is, to not meddle in our elections?
I mean, other than rising to the level of armed conflict, that's the level that you want to stay away from. You're trying to use other means in order to influence an entire nation. At the end of the day, we don't conduct these operations like our own offensive cyber operations or psychological operations, and then the Russians wake up tomorrow and say, I have no need for oil and gas sales in Ukraine. I have no need for intelligence collection against the United States. Both of those are aligned, really saying I have a need for influence over the United States. It really reminds me of, what the U.S. went through against the Russian Federation during the Cold War, not here in the U.S., but buying influence and buying governments in North Africa and in Africa and in South America. You're looking for the same thing, that war of influence, which is at the forefront of today. And at the center of that, you have U.S. politics and U.S. agendas. So that need will never go away.
All right. Vox makes a point here where it says Russia doesn't need to collude with the Trump campaign or anyone else to be a threat to American election. It just needs the elections themselves to take place. You agree with that?
I do. And in fact, it would be bad tradecraft. Coming from the intelligence community and seeing these intelligence operations unfold, it would definitely be considered bad tradecraft for, say, the GRU or Russian SVR, which are their kind of two principal intelligence agencies, to be directly colluding with the campaign. They need to keep that anonymity. They need to be able to defer from the Russian Federation itself being blamed above a level of high confidence. Now, we did pierce that. The Mueller report was able to pierce that, and we have a definitive conclusion, at least now, not muddled in intelligence community jargon where they're talking about confidence levels. But I think they're absolutely correct. It would, one, be bad tradecraft, and two, it wouldn't serve their outcomes, their end goals, which is eventually, what they're after.
Hey, MSNBC fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there and click on any of the videos here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. You can get more MSNBC for free every day with our newsletters. Just visit msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up now.